Hi everyone. Today I'm going to walk you through the solution for problem 7 in chapter 21. It's kind of a long one. So first things first, I downloaded the file from Econestoga. I've saved it and added my documentation page. You should do the same. You should always also make sure that you take the time to read the description of the data that's provided in the textbook, because that's important and we're going to be using that information. Okay, so here's the file. There's some information provided for us, and I don't need this, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to click on it and then delete. Oops, there we go, it's gone. Next thing I'm going to do is pull the team name and team number off to the right. I'll do that now. Okay, and I'll get rid of these blank columns. Okay, so the question itself is pretty straightforward. We need to compute the average number of points for an average number of points against. So that sounds pretty straightforward. So when you're presented with a question like this, the best way to proceed is to be able to describe in words what it is that you want to accomplish with a formula, okay? So instead of just knowing what the formula is, first thing we need to do is to describe how can we resolve this problem? How can we figure this out? So averages are calculated by taking, in this case, points, the total number of points, and dividing that by the number of games played. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to start by calculating the number of games played. Now, before I actually begin entering these formulas, I want to name some ranges. Not only is it our best practice, but check out this data. I'm going to scroll all the way down so we can see. There's a lot of data. Okay, so it's actually going to be a shortcut for us to name these ranges and refer to the named ranges. By the time we finish up this exercise, we're going to have proper names for all of our columns, but for now, I'm actually going to name these ranges with the letters in which they're labeled. And so I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So I'm going to label the home games right here. So I'm going to click or hold down Control and Shift, and then my down arrow will take me all the way to the bottom of this column of data. So I think this was I think it was called H. Yeah, H. Good, so I've named it. I'm going to do the same thing for all of these columns. You can do the same thing. Okay, so they're all named. That's good. So number of games played, we're going to use a count if function. And so what we really want to do is we want to enter a formula that tells Excel, go look for this number, and I'll highlight this. Go look for this number in this column, okay? And also go look for this number in this column, and each and every time you find it, count it, because that will tell us the total number of games played. So it's important to remember that you can play a game as a home team and as an away team. So we're not just counting up all the times they were the home team or the away team, but we need to combine both of them, okay? So let's get started with a formula. So we're going to use a count if function. And when you do that, Excel actually prompts you with what is it that it prompts you with clues or hints as to how to use this particular function. So the first thing that we need to do is enter the range. And I'm going to use two COUNTIF statements and I'm going to add them together. Okay, so first of all, let's count all of the times that Atlanta is the home team. So the range that I want to count is the range that I have named H. Okay, you see it's lit up now. And what I want to count is this value. Let's close the bracket and let's take a look. So I'm actually halfway done this formula. So now I've counted all of the times Atlanta, as represented by the number 1, is the home team. The next thing I need to do is almost the same formula, counting each time they're the away team. So I'm just going to add it on. So add a COUNTIF. Now the range that I want to count this time is the away time or the away games, and I've called that A. Okay, and I am counting, the criteria is that it's equal to H2. Okay. So the total number of games played is 82. Now, the great thing about this formula is, because I have left H2 as a relative reference, when I copy this down, oops, let's take a look. Here, it's now become H11, okay? So it's looking up each team's number. So that's great. Now I know the number of games that have been played. Next thing I need to know is the number of points that have been scored. Oops. That's the next thing I need to work on. Okay, so points scored. So in this case, I don't want to count the points that are scored. I want to add them up. Okay, so I need to use a sum function. And so what I'm going to do is pretty similar to the last COUNTIF, but this is going to be using a SUMIF formula. So now I have the option to enter 3 different variables, if you will. The first variable is the range. So, sorry, I should backtrack. I'm going to treat the points scored in a very similar way to the number of games played. First of all, I'm going to count up all of the points scored while they're the home team, and then I'm going to add on top of that all of the points scored while they're the away team. Okay. So the range that I'm going to start with is when they're home team. Okay. The criteria that I'm going to use in this case is the team number. Okay. And sum range is what do we want Excel to add up? So I want Excel to add up the points scored when they are the home team, which I have called HS. So I'll type HS. Okay. And then close the bracket and we'll hit enter. Okay. So points scored while they're the home team are just over 4,000. Now we need to add the points that they've scored while they've been the away team. And the formula is going to be very similar. So I'm going to add it on top, SUMIF. This time, instead of referring to the named range H, I'm going to refer to A for away. Okay, whoops, need my comma. And the criteria again is the team number. And this time the range that I want Excel to add up is the points scored while they were away, which I've called AS. Perfect. So it's added those on. And again, I can copy this all the way down. Okay, points allowed. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to use a sum if function again, and it's going to be very similar to the sum if that I did for points scored. So let's do this. Equals sum if. So my range, again, I'm going to start with when they're the home team, which I've called H. My criteria is the same. It's the team number. Okay. So this time, what I want to do is add up, while they are the home team, how many points has the away team scored? And that is points allowed. So in this case, it's AS. Okay. And I'm going to add the points allowed while they're the away team. So add that on top, add sum if. So this time it's while they're the away team. So that's A. My criteria is the team number. This time the range is points scored for the home team, which is HS. That's what I've named that range. Okay, so now we know how many points have been allowed. I can copy this all the way down. So now calculating the average points for and the average points against is pretty straightforward. So so the average number, now what I'm going to do, I think it would be, I think I'm going to name the ranges here because I think that makes it much neater. So I'm going to name this, whoops, let's see here. Let's name this games. And I'll call this points scored. And I'll call this points allowed. So average points for, I'm going to use, so I've entered an equal sign and now I'm going to hit the F3 key. Whoops. I actually am not sure if this is going to show up for you or not. I'm going to pick my points scored and I will divide that by games. That's my average for. My average points against, I'll take my points allowed and I'll divide that by the number of games played. So points allowed divided by games. Oops, have to spell it right. There we go. So let me tidy this up. That actually completes, whoops, it's too close. I wanted to leave one row of space. So that completes the exercise, but I have some cleanup to do here. And so I'd like you to also do this cleanup. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to get rid of this highlighting. I only included it for the purposes of explaining or demonstration, so we don't need that. And I'm going to add some more reasonable titles. So this is the team number. This is the team name. Okay, and these titles are already pretty understandable. So let's bold this, underline it, make it gray. The other thing I'm going to do is reduce the number of decimal spots. Whoops, let's increase. So we're not told how many decimal points to leave, and I'm not a sports enthusiast, so I'm not sure what would actually make sense. I'm going to leave 1 decimal, and hopefully that's reasonable. So we should also name here. So this is the home team and away team. This is the home score, and this is the away score. And I'm going to format the titles the same over here. In fact, this needs to be a little bit larger. Okay, so let's see, is there anything else? Okay, I think that really takes care of it. Now we have, what we're asked for is what are the average number of points scored for and average number of points that the team gave up. Okay, and so here's the answer. Well, what we may even want to do is, since this is the actual answer, I may highlight that so that we know that that's really what the answer was. Okay, that completes the exercise.